welcome everybody to another episode of Talk Bridal to Me. I am Anna Mumau, a pro makeup artist here in the Pacific Northwest, based in Spokane, Washington, and I am so excited to have Gabriella Sutherland on today. She is a photographer out of Ohio and gives her clients an incredible experience and end result. So thank you, Gabriella, for joining me today.
Of course. Hi.
Absolutely. So to start off right off the bat, how would you describe your photography style?
So I will describe it in ways that other people have described it. I will call it earthy and moody, journalistic, cinematic, which is one of my favorite ones. Also, the earthy one is one of my favorite ones. Photojournalistic, probably.
Yeah.
Candid. Yeah. I throw some posed pictures in there every once in a while when my couples like to, but I also really love to capture the moment and the style and just what's going on in the in-between moments too. Really been getting into the blurry photos too.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Well, and I notice just even looking through your feed on Instagram, there's so much like movement in each photo. There's nothing that really seems stagnant. You know, when people are just sitting there and smiling at the camera,
Yeah.
do you feel that for your photos you kind of like that fluid movement, or how would you go about capturing just getting that?
So I do a lot of what they call promptography. So I kind of prompt them into the pose and then I catch the actual genuine moments. So the little mid smile or the little laugh or the little in between movement part of that. And I really like to capture just that raw, genuine moment in the middle. So mainly it's a lot of prompts and then just kind of taking pictures as it goes. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and I feel that the photojournalistic style of especially wedding photography has come so far, because I remember when I got married in 2011, it was like, stand here, smile, do this, smile. And at the end of the day, you're just like, oh, I'm so tired of this.
Yeah.
And so I think just having more of that like natural movement and real feel for your day versus just going from picture to picture is just so nice.
I like to, I honestly don't do a whole lot of straight on smile and stare at the camera anymore. And sometimes I try to remind myself that we also probably want like a traditional smiling picture of the bride and groom for mom and dad, you know, for their wall. But other than that, I like to really just catch those in between moments.
Yes. So what are some of your ways besides just those little prompts, or can you share with us what are some of those little prompts? Because I wouldn't even know how you go about getting that.
Yeah, so it's really fun. I have a few favorites. Kiss with your teeth is probably one of the ones I use the most. And I have so many people that are like, what? What does that mean? And I'm like, go ahead and smile and pretend like you're kissing. And then, so you get that awkward first moment. They're like, okay, what are we doing? Most for 80% of them. And then they just start laughing. And then you get that moment is what I capture. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Another fun one is, let's see, whenever they're holding hands and they're playing a little light tug of war and they're walking towards me, and you have them bump their hips together and then come back out and then just kind of like lightly play kind of like that.
Okay.
And then, so that gets a lot of motion in there. You have her spin in the middle, go in for a big kiss and a big hug and a huddle. And another one is have him sneak up on her. So,
that's cute.
A lot of times we'll be like in the grass and you'll be able to hear him, you know, walk up on her, but you never know what he's going to do. Yeah. So I'm always like, okay, I'm ready when you are. Sneak up on her. You can give her a big bear hug from behind. You can lift her up and spin her. You can tickle her, whatever you feel comfortable. Yeah. And so that's a lot of what my sessions are like. It's just a lot of telling you what the prompt is and just letting it go naturally.
I love that.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, okay. So I'll mention one more just because it's funny. So one of the other great ones is if you have them do belly button to belly button, great prompt. So they'll go in close and you'll have him whisper in her ear in his most seductive voice, what he had for breakfast.
Oh no.
It's like instant smiles and instant genuine.
Oatmeal.
It's so great.
That's amazing. Do
Yeah.
you feel like you kind of created these prompts over time, or have you learned them from other photographers?
I've learned them from all over the place. So I've done a lot of research in the beginning, trying to figure out what would be more natural. And then I've also done a lot of Googling for promptography.
Yeah.
And so you can find a whole lot of fun things to just, and they also have them for any type of session. So
Mm-hmm.
family, kiddos, senior portraits, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of find out like what works with the couple too on that specific session, and then kind of go from there. And I have like a big I guess you can call it like a mental journal of ones that have really worked in the past,
Yeah.
and ones that I want to try too, because
Yes.
it's really hard for you to it's really hard for me to kind of get out of my comfort zone
Sure.
when I find like a couple good prompts. And so I have to remind myself now to be like, hey, you really wanted to try this for that post. Go ahead and like mental note, keep that and see what happens with this couple. And
Yes.
that exploration and that kind of like, let's see what happens is also fun too, because you could expect something, but then get something totally different and then be able to use that for the picture instead. And it turned out way better than you thought. So
Mm.
a lot of experimenting, a lot of playing around, a
Yes.
lot of goofiness. Yeah.
Yes. Do you find that the men are more comfortable because of your photography style and the way that you go about capturing the photos?
That's a great question. I would say I would say that it's dependent on the couple,
Yeah.
because I think that whisper in your ear and your most seductive voice kind of gets them like a little bit more comfortable, and they feel better about it. But it's actually funny because I had one engagement couple. She said that she had to give her husband a shot, or her fiance a shot before the session. So, and it turned out great, and they did awesome. But I think it's just really dependent. They seem to be, most of them seem to be comfortable. Yeah.
That's good. I feel like there's always that stereotypical guy who's like, "Oh, why are we getting these
Right.
photos?"
Yeah.
Yes.
That takes
Yeah.
a little bit longer for them to warm up, but they usually do warm up. Yeah.
Yes. There's another gal up here that is, I'll have to connect you with her, and you may already be connected with her already, but she works in a very similar manner, and I work with her on a lot of weddings, and she's one of my go-to gals up here for family photos.
Yeah.
And she does a lot of the prompt photography as well, because we did that one too where it was like hold the hands and kind of like hip
Mhm.
bump. And
Yeah.
those are some great photos.
They just capture that genuine moment that you think you'll expect from a posed picture, but you really don't.
Yeah.
So you just
No,
have to
you
you
don't.
have to move them into it, you know?
Yes. So do you find at the end of the day you end up with like 5,000 photos
Oh
on
my
your
goodness.
on your
So I so I normally bring 256 gigabyte cards on a wedding day, and that's
Oh
when you're
my
shooting.
goodness.
Yeah, when you're shooting raw, that's probably about 5,000 raw pictures, give or
Oh
take.
my gosh.
Um, and I usually will come home with about 2,800 to 3,000 pictures to look through. Yeah,
That's
but it's
so
better
many.
it's better to capture as much as you can and
Yes.
then look through them afterwards instead of missing the moment. So
Yeah.
a
Yes.
lot,
I
a
that
lot of pictures, yeah. But I love my job. So
Yes, that's always been daunting to me because I'll go do a wedding and then I come home and I clean my kit, but then I'm not doing I'm not editing anything or anything like
right,
that. And
right.
so with the photographers, I'm like, you go, girl.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And then you get to wait and see like all the sneak peeks and all the pictures of your work afterwards, which is kind
Yes.
of fun. You just get to sit back and relax and be like, oh, I did that.
Yeah, it is a really fun part. So tell me a little bit how you got started with photography.
So I've been picking up a camera since I was in high school and just kind of playing around with it. My husband and I lived in Kansas because of the military a few years ago, and that's whenever I really started playing around with family sessions, seniors, and then actually did my first wedding there. And then I realized that I really just want to take pictures of couples. And so I started when we moved here to Ohio, which was about 4 years ago. I decided to fully focus on weddings and couples. And then I started doing styled shoots and things like that, to really show people what I want to market for and what I want to take more pictures of. And so then I have a true passion for couples because of the fun, like, love and connection that you get to capture in between there. I don't know. I've just always been drawn to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's such a fun, and I tell people like with makeup too, I'm like, it's not funeral makeup. Like this is such a good
Yeah.
time and everybody's happy and there's
Yeah.
the feel in the air, the vibe, if you will, is just so
Right.
good. And there's something about
And
that.
and whenever people come back to me and they say, you made us look so good, or, oh my gosh, these are amazing and we love them so much, thank you so much, it just makes me feel really good that I was able to provide that for them and
Yes.
to show them like their love in pictures, I guess.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
and encapsulate those memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really
And I
special thing.
have a lot on my wall too. This is my office, so I like to
Yay.
print off some of my favorites, and I actually need to update it. But so
Yeah.
you can, yeah, so you catch that genuine moment, and then they also get to hang them on their walls forever. It's
That sounds
amazing.
amazing.
And then you
Yes.
get to walk in and some, like, I've been in some client homes and they've, from like family sessions, because I'll do a few lifestyle sessions here and there for my couple, or for my couples that start their families, and then also my reoccurring clients that I started with when I began in Ohio. And so I like to still take their pictures, and I'll walk into their home and I'll look on the walls and I'll be like, oh, hey, I took that. Oh my gosh, that's from another session. That's so cool.
Oh.
Thank you
Is
so
that
much.
is that just like the biggest compliment ever when you have your work on people's walls?
It really is. And then whenever I'm talking to wedding couples, like afterwards, and before, when I do that interview with them to make sure I have all the details set out, they'll say, I totally trust you. You're the professional. Do what you do best, and we'll do what you tell us. And I'll just be like, it's amazing because they give you that full creativity and that trust. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's when you just kind of go for it. And then it
Yes.
just turns out amazing. So,
Oh, and it's so nice when people want you as an artist.
yeah, it feels
And
really good.
yes, and they like you and they like your work, and that's huge.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes. And I know we touched on this a little bit, but what are some other compliments that you've received from clients in regards to your work or your demeanor or how you go about doing things?
So, and I have notes on my phone because I'm super nervous.
No,
But
you're okay.
so I really have appreciated that I trust your full judgment. That's meant a lot to me. And then a lot of them have told me that I'm easy to work with. I made their wedding day go smoothly,
Mm.
without the help with the timeline and all the details and things like that. They don't know how it would have gone without me, kind of thing. Feels really, really good because I've been to a lot of weddings, and so with the expertise, as I guess as you could call it, of knowing how a wedding day goes, and then
Mhm.
knowing how much time I need as a professional in my business to take pictures of each thing, and then just kind of like coaching them through what their most important photos are of the day and things like that. I mean, that for them to fully trust me has been a game changer.
Mm.
It allows for so much. And a lot of them have told me that I help them keep their nerves calm,
Oh,
which makes me feel really good. And I'm
yes.
very efficient. And I am I would call myself a very type A personality. So I love schedules. But I am very down to earth. So a lot of my brides will tell me that I made them feel comfortable. I made them feel like everything was going to be fine. I helped them through that day when things needed to be changed in the schedule, and made it seem like totally comfortable and fine throughout the whole process. And so I am me no matter where I'm at. And I'm very calm natured, down to earth. And so a lot of people have told me that I bring that into the wedding. And
Mm.
it feels really good to know that
Yes.
I'm able to make someone feel comfortable and feel
Yes.
calm, and like everything's gonna be fine because I'll take care of it. So
Yes. Well,
yeah.
even talking to you now, like you say you're nervous, and I'm like, oh, she just looks so just like, just
Well,
so
that's good. So
zen.
freaking out inside.
You're like, that's because I took 3 shots before.
Yes. I have 4 shots of coffee this morning, so which probably didn't help the nerves, but
No. Oh, if I had 4 shots of coffee, I would just be like, it would not be good.
Yeah.
But I know in talking to you previously, you said like you have alarms on your phone on the wedding day and you work really well in communication with your clients. Do you feel like that's part of your success in getting that end result on the wedding day?
I would say yes, because it's mainly for, I think it would be for both the wedded couple and for me to keep on track and to help us feel more comfortable about it, because I would lose my mind if we both were like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. Sure, I'll just follow you around. And for me, like, oh my gosh. So I would I would just be like, well, what do you want me to do? Where do you need me to be? Like, I'm the type of person who's like, okay, you tell me what you need. I'll give you as much advice and professional advice as you need. And then we'll go through it. You tell me if you want me to help you with the schedule. If you don't want me to help you with the schedule, that's fine. Just tell me where you need me to be. Because it's just so much more helpful for me to know where I need to be at that specific time, what photos you want, when you want them. So I need structure. And whatever structure the bride wants, I will help them and get us both on track so that we can be a sufficient, successful team.
I'm the same way. I always have a rough timeline for our beauty, for hair and makeup, and my assistant, and that kind of helps keep you on track.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like, I don't want to get to a wedding and say, well, who's going first? And then one's in the shower and then one's over here. And like, that's the fastest way to just like have it slide downhill real fast.
Yeah. That's like how it is.
Yeah, I can imagine that's how it would be with photography. Like, well, what do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? Like,
It's
you
like
can't afford that.
With family pictures too, it's like, okay, where's mom? Where's grandpa? Okay. Aunt Josie just walked away real quick. I guess we're not getting those pictures. And for me, so during the wedding, during family pictures, I always ask beforehand, I need a list of family members, their names, and then what specific pictures you want. Because for me, as long as I know what you want, I will execute it and keep it on track to make sure you have a successful wedding day with your pictures and wedding day in general. Because I'm kind of like, obviously, you know, when you pick your photographer, they're going to be with you that entire day.
Yes.
And so you need to make sure that you vibe with them, that you like them, that you like their style, that you're going to be comfortable with them no matter where you're at in the wedding day.
Yep.
So there's a lot of little details that goes into it too.
Absolutely. Well, and the photographer is a huge leader in the wedding day, and they run so much of the stuff. Like, I know I work with the photographer and figure out, okay, when do they need to be ready? Where do they need to be? Because the photographer kind of runs the show for a certain part of the day.
Yeah. That's 100% true, because I talk to videographers a lot. I talk to DJs, and all of them always are like, you know, you tell me what you need. What's the timeline that you have? Let me know if I'm in your way. And I appreciate those comments so much, because I'm like, I love to work with you and collaborate with you. And like those vendors, it just works out so well with those types of vendors that are just, they know. And with a photographer's standpoint, like I had said earlier, we follow you around all day. So we're the ones that are like, okay, family picture time. Okay. You know, getting ready time. Okay, I need these detail shots. Okay, what do you need from me for the ceremony? And that's why that call beforehand is so important too. And I have this list I have a questionnaire too for him, but it's really, really nice when you get those couples that trust you completely.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have little tools for your brides? Like, I know you were saying you need detail shots, you need these things. Do you kind of give them a checklist beforehand on the wedding day? Like, hey, I need your details set aside. I need these things in order to help their day run smoothly. So
whenever I book a couple, I first give them the wedding welcome guide. So this is like a mini magazine, like a 25 page digital magazine that I've created for them that goes through from their about me through their engagement session tips and then wedding tips. So, and then a sample timeline.
Oh, perfect.
And then with that, and I actually have my sample timeline for 6 hours on my website. But
Yeah.
with that, I'll give them a engagement session questionnaire. So this goes through, what kind of couple are you? What kind of background are you looking for? Do you want to bring your dogs? What do you guys like to do together? And then with a wedding questionnaire, it actually goes through a lot of detail. So it's kind of lengthy, but it's worth it because it goes through, are you doing a first look? Where is everybody getting ready? Does your groom want getting ready pictures? Do you want getting ready pictures? Who are your vendors? Because I love to tag vendors on Instagram. And then do you want a first kiss from behind, which is actually getting really popular. And that's from the guest perspective, or from the and I just lost the name of it, but the officiant's perspective. So you take a picture of the first kiss from behind and you get their guest reaction, and mom and dad in the background and grandma and grandpa and things like that. So that's really fun.
That's
but it
awesome.
so it goes through a lot of different details. So they have that questionnaire. And then I also call them around 1 to 2 weeks before the wedding, whenever's comfortable for them. And I ask them all the questions and kind of get the feel for what they're looking for. And one of the most important questions that I ask them is, when we make the timeline, is what is the most important pictures to get on your wedding day? Because that's going to determine when you want your coverage to start, when you want it to end. You want sunset pictures. A lot of my brides are like, oh, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you got to get your sunset pictures if you want those. So I need like 15, 20 minutes, during the reception. We'll sneak you out right after you eat, stuff like that. And a lot of them have been like, we love that. We're so glad that we did that. That was such a good idea. And so I also try to make sure that they think of everything that they didn't think of before, because you only get married once, theoretically. So
that's the hope.
You get your pictures on the one day that, it becomes most important. So
yeah. Well, it sounds like you have an amazing system for your brides.
Yeah.
And I think the best vendors are the ones that like preload their brides, if that makes sense, where they know what to expect. And there are going to be those times where the client has a question and what about this and what about this, and that's okay. But when it comes to the timeline and those little details, like, I feel like they need to know that ahead of time, and you do such a good job doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I always recommend that, even though it might seem stressful in the moment, in your early planning process of your wedding, definitely make your wedding timeline early. Because the earlier that you make your timeline, and make one for the groom and make one for the wedding party, because you have more time in the beginning of your planning to do all this. You have more time to talk to your vendors and switch things around, check your sunset times. You're not as rushed, and then everything just kind of flows a little bit more smoother, and you can kind of rest easy a week before your wedding, knowing that, everything is going smoothly.
Yes. Well, and so many other vendors, myself included, go off that photographer's timeline to create our own timelines and figure out what time do we need to be there. Everything from catering to the DJ to the florals, all those types of things. Like, the photographer's timeline is the skeleton that we use to create all the other timelines off of.
It is, yeah.
And even the wedding planner, like, they go off of the photographer's timeline as well. So having that ahead of time, like a good few weeks in advance, is really helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. Do you travel for clients, or do you stay local?
Dude, I travel. I travel so much. I love it. It's, aside from a regular wedding day, which I love just as equally, I really love to travel to a new place. I love elopements. The freedom that elopements give you, it's so much less stress too. And if your most important pictures are your bride and groom portraits, elopements are the way to go. I mean, it just allows for so much more. But yes, I travel everywhere, and I have bucket list destinations, and I've been in a couple times now, and I'm ready to go back in August. And I'm planning for Washington, like, I don't know, 5 times a year.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. There are some coastal areas that are just incredible.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw on my Instagram, but I recently went to La Push in Forks.
Oh,
Oh my
yes.
goodness.
I
Amazing.
saw that one. Oh yeah, Twilight
So
vibes.
many Twilight vibes all the way, man. And I'm ready to go back already.
Yes, there's something about that low-hanging moss and the
Yeah.
greenery and those woodsy, earthy shots that are just right up your alley
Yeah.
vibe-wise, and then those rocky beaches and
Oh my goodness. That was such an experience too, seeing all of just the
mm,
black, round, flat
mhm,
rocks on the
mhm.
beach. And then you get the fog that
Yep.
you always want in pictures, but in Washington you get it all the time.
Yeah,
So
you don't ever have to hope for it. It's just
no.
there.
So as far as like what time you want to take the pictures, just look up the coastal the waves and like
Oh yeah.
when the tide is going to be at the lowest. That's your main
Okay.
focus because your fog's going to stay. And like here in Ohio, we worry about the sunset, right? I love to
Yeah.
shoot in golden hour. Well, I mean, Washington, like you have so much more time because there's probably
Oh
not going
yeah.
to be a golden hour.
Yeah.
So
There is some, but you have like literally like 20 minutes where they're
yeah,
like, "Go!
that's it.
Be there. It's
But I feel
here."
like I feel like it's also helpful too to work with a photographer that like understands golden hour at that
Yeah.
point. And then so if it does come out, you know that you can trust that photographer to take those pictures in golden
Yeah.
hour as well as cloudy, foggy weather.
Yep.
It's just an experience. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Everything about it.
Yeah. There's a couple of photographers around here that get that golden hour shot and you're just like, "Wait a second. Like,
Where'd that come from? Is
where'd
that
that
fake?
come from? That was there. I don't remember that." Yeah, I know. But it changes the whole mood of photos because I was looking
Yeah.
for photos for my website and I was like, "Oh, these all go together." And then the golden hour shots are just like poof. And I'm like, "No, well, I got to put that on its
Like,
own."
wait a second, that's not where we live.
Yeah, that's not I don't feel like that fits in the Pacific Northwest, but it does and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. So I know as just a wedding vendor in general, I'm sure you have some funny stories that have
Oh
happened.
goodness. So
Tell
I
us a
knew you were
few.
gonna I knew you were gonna ask me about this, and I was like, which ones do I share?
How many can I you can share as
Right.
many as you want.
Goodness. So I don't know who it was, so no one can come back at me and get embarrassed. But the whole I was in the restroom on a wedding day,
Oh no.
and the bridesmaid, I'm sure they were two bridesmaids. They walk in, and I'm like overhearing this conversation in the girls' restroom, and she's laughing, totally drunk, and she goes, "I think I peed on the floor."
Oh no.
And the other one starts laughing her butt off, and then they just have like this whole thing, and I was like, I've never heard that before. That's gonna stick in my head. That was really
Yeah.
interesting. And
Oh,
some wedding receptions are so fun to watch and photograph, and I have the perfect spot for it because I can find all the embarrassing moments, and I can just boop, take my
yeah.
picture. I
Caught.
don't know how many I don't know how many groomsmen have taken their tie off and they've stuck it on their head and
Mhm.
flung it around and
Yep.
danced with it and taken all the stuff. It's just been so funny. Um, I had one where the groom the groom had left the reception area and the bride was in the reception. He comes back in with all of his groomsmen and has this new song that comes out, and he's got his shirt off and he's just got the suspenders on,
Oh my
and she's
goodness.
sitting in the chair in the middle, and he's like giving her a little lap dance, and it's just like hilarious for all of the guests. It was great. And
You're
of
like,
course
"Is this Chippendales? Where are we?"
um man, there's just so many of them. And I'm just other than that, I mean,
Yeah.
if you gave me like a couple more minutes, I'd probably remember a few of them. I can't remember
Yeah.
what I put on the list, but it was
That's
just
okay.
it was so great. That
Oh.
so funny. And the longer that I do this, the more funny stories I'm gonna have. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
gonna be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is a piece of advice or two that you would give to brides looking for a photographer?
So, oh man, like one advice piece. I would say that establishing whether your budget or your style of photography
Mm,
is more important.
Ooh.
I think that would be really important to establish first when you're looking for a photographer.
Okay.
And don't do it last minute.
Yeah. Oh, heavens.
So, because then that will kind of set the stage for what's most important. If you're looking within your budget range and your style doesn't really matter, or you're gonna budge for your quality because of your price range.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. A bunch of people do that. But I think establishing that first is going to be really important. And then a second one, when you do find a photographer or you're looking for photographers, make sure that you vibe with them. So make sure that you are comfortable with them, like I had said earlier, because we will follow you around all day. And if you don't fully feel comfortable with them, or you feel a little awkward, then I would say go with someone that makes you feel like you're friends, that makes you feel like you're comfortable with them, and you just vibe, you know?
Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree.
Yeah,
Yes. Well, Gabriella, thank you so much for
of
joining me
course.
today. It was such a pleasure to talk to you, and
Thank
I
you.
hope that you get some more Pacific Northwest weddings.
Yes, me too. I
It'd
will
be
be
so
down there
fun to have you out here.
tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.